Because of why I search the deep through endless nights, no time to sleep. The call inside I can't deny. I'll find the light because of why.
Hey everyone, you ever glance at a map of Europe, see Spain and Portugal, and just kind of wonder, why? Why are there two countries on that peninsula? It seems like a simple question, right? But believe me, the answer is this amazing story full of royal drama, huge rebellions, and a secret that, honestly, most people have no idea about. So let's dive in. I mean, look at it. You've got the Iberian Peninsula, one piece of land, and for centuries, it's been these two nations. You have Spain, this massive, powerful kingdom, and then right there on the coast, you've got Portugal. That border has been sitting there pretty much unchanged for ages. So it's the obvious question, isn't it? Why didn't Spain, the bigger, more powerful one, ever just, take over? I mean, think about all those centuries of empire building in Europe. How on earth did Portugal hang on right next door to a global superpower? Well, this is where the story gets really interesting because the answer has a fantastic twist. Okay, so to really get to the bottom of this, we've got to flip the whole question on its head. Because this idea that Spain never conquered Portugal, well, it's not the full story, not by a long shot. In fact, here's the secret. This is the bit that totally changes the game, a piece of history that a lot of people just seem to forget. They actually did unite. Yeah, you heard that right. For 60 whole years, the same king wore the crown of both Spain and Portugal. This wasn't some tiny footnote in a history book. It was a huge deal called the Iberian Union. So how in the world did this happen? Well, it all kicks off back in 1578. The young king of Portugal, Sebastian, dies in battle without any kids. Big problem. This sparks a massive succession crisis. And guess who has the strongest claim to the throne? None other than King Philip II of Spain. So he marches his army in, and by 1580, boom, he's the king of Portugal too. The whole peninsula under one ruler for the next 60 years. But, and this is super important, you have to understand how this union actually worked. This wasn't a conquest, not in the way we usually think of it. King Philip was actually pretty smart about it. He promised to keep Portugal's autonomy. They got to keep their own laws, their own government, their language, even their huge overseas empire. It was more like two kingdoms sharing a CEO, not one company buying another. And that is the absolute key here. Portugal never really lost its soul, its identity. So that leads us to the real question, right? It's not, why didn't Spain ever conquer Portugal? The real question is, why did this 60-year merger fall apart? What went so wrong that they had to break up? I mean, they were together for 60 years. What happened? What finally pushed the Portuguese to say, okay, we're done with this, and start a fight for their independence all over again? Well, let's just say the grievances really started to stack up. You see, for Portugal, this whole arrangement started to feel like a really bad deal. All of a sudden, they're being dragged into Spain's super expensive wars in Europe, wars that had nothing to do with them. Then, their overseas empire starts getting attacked by Spain's enemies, like the Dutch. On top of that, you have this guy, the Count Duke Olivares, who comes in with these heavy-handed policies, trying to centralize everything and jack up taxes. But the final straw, the thing that really broke the camel's back, Spain wanted to use Portuguese troops to put down a revolt in another part of Spain. For the Portuguese, it felt like everything they were promised was being stripped away. And this really sets the stage for what happens in 1640. Think about it from Spain's perspective. They are completely stretched to the limit. They're fighting the massive 30 Years' War. They've got a huge rebellion on their hands in Catalonia. They are just juggling way too much. But Portugal, they had just one thing on their mind, getting their independence back. Spain was distracted, and that was the perfect opportunity for Portugal to make its move. So that's exactly what they did. In 1640, a bunch of Portuguese nobles just stormed the palace in Lisbon and declared their own king. And just like that, the Portuguese Restoration War began. But, starting a revolt is one thing. Actually winning against the mighty Spanish Empire, that's a whole different ballgame. Luckily for them, Portugal had an ace up its sleeve. And this is the big question, isn't it? How could this smaller nation possibly hold out against a global superpower for nearly 3 decades? I mean, 30 years. The answer is an old friend, one of the oldest alliances in the history of the world, actually. See, Portugal wasn't fighting alone.
They had England in their corner, and the Anglo-Portuguese Alliance is, and you can look this up, the oldest military alliance in the world that's still in effect today. It goes all the way back to 1386, and that ancient friendship was about to pay some serious dividends.
And they needed all the help they could get, because this was no quick fight. We're talking about a long, brutal 28-year war. From 1640 all the way to 1668, Portugal had to fight for its very survival, and England's help was absolutely 100% critical to them pulling it off.
So what kind of help are we talking about? Well, for starters, England gave Portugal diplomatic cover, making them look legit in the eyes of Europe. That was sealed with a royal wedding when Portugal's Catherine of Braganza married King Charles II of England. But the real game changer was the military support. England sent over top-tier commanders like the amazing General Schomberg and, crucially, thousands of battle-hardened English troops. These were the guys who were really going to tip the scales. And it all came to a head in 1665 at the Battle of Montes Claros. This was it, the final decisive showdown. The Spanish army was crushed, and that English brigade, they played a massive part in the victory. After that battle, the writing was on the wall. It was pretty much over, and it was only a matter of time before Spain would have to admit defeat and recognize Portugal's independence for good.
All right, so let's put all the pieces of this puzzle together. Now that we've seen the whole picture, we can finally answer that original question.
So why is Portugal independent today? First, we have to throw out that old myth. Spain did rule Portugal for 60 years, but it was a union that fell apart. Why? Because Portugal had a super strong national identity that never ever went away. Second, Spain was just too distracted. It was a superpower fighting fires all over the place. And third, the secret ingredient, a powerful friend. That centuries-old alliance with England gave them the military muscle they needed to win. It was the perfect storm, really. A strong identity, a golden opportunity, and a friend with an army.
It's pretty amazing when you think about it, right? Every single border on the map has a story like this, packed with twists and turns you'd never expect. It makes you wonder, what other borders out there have a secret history just waiting to be told? Hey, if you enjoyed digging into this little piece of history with us, do me a favor and hit that like button, share it, and subscribe for more. And definitely let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching.